All right. Shalom. This is the most high day that he has made. We are happy to come together again as a family. Um, Today, I believe, because we're going to go to the calendar to make sure, but we are in his 11th month now. And the 11th month means a rod. Okay. And that's very important that we understand what the month mean unto our Father in heaven, for they have spiritual messages and mysteries in them. Also, this is I believe we are in let me see here. We are in day 2 of the 11th month. Okay. But we'll go to the calendar later on when we get all the dates and we're tied into the heathen dates. Now, what y'all see before you is a picture of the sun. So this is going to be the main topic we're going to hit on. Okay. But first, we're going to open in prayer. And I ask those who are on with me today that we mute our phones and that we stand up and we face the east. I ask that my brothers to uncover their head as a sign that they are under or they have submitted to the Messiah. And we know the Messiah take his orders from our Father in heaven. And I ask that my sisters that they cover their head as a sign to represent that we've come under that same power and authority. And we are signifying unto those angels not to mess with us because we're under that same power and authority. All right. Sister Huda is going to open up with us in prayer.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 97. The Lord reigneth, let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of the isles be glad thereof. Clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. A fire goeth before him, and burneth up his enemies round about. His lightnings enlightened the world. The earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory. Confounded be all they that serve graven images, that boast themselves of idols. Worship him, all ye gods. Zion heard and was glad, and the daughters of Judah rejoiced because of thy judgments, O Lord. For thou, Lord, art high above all the earth, thou art exalted far above all gods. Ye that love the Lord hate evil. He preserveth the souls of his saints, he delivereth them out of the hands of the wicked. Light is sown for righteousness, and gladness for the upright in heart. Rejoice in the Lord, ye righteous, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness. Thank you, Holy Father, for allowing us to come together, to worship, to hear your word. We ask that you continue to give us understanding of your word, Father. Teach us, Holy Father, to walk in the Spirit and not in the flesh. Teach us to subdue our flesh, for we are weak in the flesh, Father, but stronger and mightier in the Spirit. Guide us and protect us from all evil, Father. Shield us under your wings and cover us until all these calamities pass over us. Continue to guide our dear sister Yitia, Father. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the awesome wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you have poured into your daughter, Father. Please continue to do so. Make your word plain to us, Father. Show us what you're trying to teach us. He that hath an ear, he shall understand. In Jesus' name we pray. Hallelujah and amen.
So be it. That prayer was right on time.
All right,
Lining up
yeah.
with what's going
Outstanding.
on with everything.
Thank you, sis.
Hmm. Let me make sure this recording is on because I definitely. Okay, recording is on. I have to make sure because you never know, you know. Okay. Thank you, Father, for that prayer. That prayer is right on time because it aligns in your season. So I'm going to take us from this picture here that we see of the sun because that's going to be the main topic. So now we are transitioning from Mazaroth now to the sun. Okay. So we will be looking at Enoch's writings. All right. Let me get this out of the way because there might be some copyright material we may be looking at for education purposes. Okay, I'm gonna close this on out. Now let us go to the agenda. And we'll come back to the date. So the agenda for us today, we're going to look at the final calculation that we did for the 364-day solar or sun calendar to compare to make sure that we got the same thing. I'll have to bring that up too. That's what the Father reminded me. But we're going to look at that briefly, and then we're going to keep it moving because, like I said, we have some other things we need to look at today. And I do want to make sure that we start on looking at Enoch's writings when we're studying about the sun. In our last session, our brother had a question about Josephus' name, and the Father provided us the evidence that we can take a look at and to understand why there's a Hebrew name for Josephus and why we have an English name as for him for well. Okay. Then our sister Love for All, unfortunately, she cannot be with us today, but she had also shared with me about the Sefer Bible, how there has been a mistransliteration regarding the angel Azael. In that Sefer Bible, according to what she was sharing, and I asked y'all to do your due diligence, check behind us, that they had him as being labeled as a good angel. And I will get more in detail about the Sefer Bible. The channel also have information about the Sefer Bible, and that's something you want to be very concerned about because we are in the last days. And I'm just going to let y'all know, y'all need to be aware of other transliterations, okay, compared to the older books that we have. Then the next, let me right here, put it, there we go, space that out. Then on the next on our agenda, we're gonna briefly talk about the season of perfection and the great insurrection. Okay. And then we will be looking at the 11th new moon, so we can compare y'all's calendar to what y'all have on paper. Now, for those who are new, who are watching us the first time, we come together as a family of Yah, for there is only one God, one Son, and one Spirit. Therefore, that make us as what? One. We are his family. So we come together to study about his calendar and his mysteries. For what the Father has taught us, that is more than just learning about the calendar, because the calendar is going to tie into all things, whether if it's the Hebrew language, whether if it's the scriptures, whether it's dealing with numbers or prophecy, everything ties into together. It's like everything is involved within a circle. So there's no such thing as studying one part of it. Hold on, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. So looking at the agenda, this is a must requirement for those who want to fellowship with us or to join us to learn about his calendar and his mysteries. Okay, this is a must required. You must read Torah, which is the first 5 books, which is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Number, and Deuteronomy, along with the gospel, because this is dealing with developing your foundation. Okay, from what the Father has shared to me, the reason why many of his children are going here and there and everywhere and going from person to person, because they have not established the foundation within themselves. Now, I'm not talking about something physical or carnal. This is dealing with spiritual things. This is why the Father is required of you to read Torah and the gospel. For your foundation is made up of Torah, the prophets, the scribes, and the gospel. When you have done that homework assignment, then you will understand why your Father in heaven has required you to have read those things, because you will not understand what the calendar is saying unto you. You will not understand what the prophets slash scribes are saying unto you, and you won't understand what the Messiah is saying unto you until you have established that foundation within you. That is a must requirement. Another requirement to understand the Most High calendar, we have to observe the heavens. If you don't observe the heavens, then you're not going to understand what the prophet Enoch is saying. And then for the past several weeks, we have been talking about the function of the three lights. Okay, so now we'll have a focus on the sun. And then I will be sharing with you some pictures or any other pictures that my family member has for those who have been observing the heavens. Which brings us to this. Let me go back to the top now. So this morning, the Father blessed me to take some pictures of the sun, because this picture is very crucial. And I probably need to blow this up for everyone to see that is watching this video. Now, this picture that you see before you is a picture that I taken this morning in my car. So that's why you see some water. This was on the windshield. But I want you to take a look at the shape of the sun. So like I said, the Father blessed me where he had a mist to cover the sun and he had clouds surrounding the sun, where I can see the true shape of the sun. This is very important because when you read Enoch Writings, he talks about the size of the sun in comparison to the size of the moon. This is another picture. Now right here it's kind of bright. The reason why I'm showing you this picture, because you're seeing a bird flying in the heavens, right? Where the sun is positioned at. Notice in the next picture that I blow up, like I said, this was a beautiful shot. The bird, you can see the bird was flying through the mist of the atmosphere, which was basically fog or the clouds going past the sun. But look at the shape of the sun. Okay, look at the size of the sun. Okay. And here's another picture. And at this time, the sun is becoming brighter because it's evaporating that mist that we see in the atmosphere. Okay, because you know the atmosphere is mostly made up of water. Okay. So that was a blessing that the Father blessed me with this morning. So now we on the next thing on the agenda. We're gonna look at our brother question that he asked us in the last gathering. Let me see about doing something with this. Okay. My brother asked a question. And my brother, can you reinstate your question for us for those who are watching the video for the first time?
Yes, what you have on the screen appears to be the more modern name, which is the Josephus, and there's another name which was more Hebraic. And I was, when I posed that question, I just real time was looking at what the question that came to my mind was. I needed to find out more about what the differences of the two were. And so that was pretty much the gist of the question.
Okay, so let me repeat what your question was so everybody can understand what you were asking. You were asking what is the difference between his Hebraic name versus the translated name that we see today, right?
Correct.
Okay, so next we're gonna go to Wikipedia, because like I said, the Father blessed us, because the books that we have now is not in the native language, nor do they have the correspondence of the Hebraic language with the transliterated language. So not this one. I need to go to this one first. Let's give it a while. Sometimes when you have a lot of tabs open, Okay, here we go. When you do a Google search, like you say, like you can put in Josephus Hebrew name, something like that. One of the things that's going to pop up is Wikipedia. Okay, and in the first paragraph of Wikipedia, what you're going to see is more close to more of a Hebraic name for him. Okay, what you saw in the first screen was more of a Greek transliteration, but right now we're going to look at the Hebraic. So in the Wikipedia website, let me blow this up because I know the writing's small on this website. We see here a more Hebraic way of spelling his name. Most of us who have been going back and forth between different books, such as Hebraic books to modern day English book, we recognize that Joseph is the Hebraic way of saying Joseph in modern day English. Okay. Now, when you look at the word being, for those who have access to the King 1611 Bible, the word being remind me of what I see written in the Apocrypha when we get to Ecclesiasticus, because when you learn the other name for the book of Ecclesiasticus, you will learn that it's known as what? Ben Sirach. And when you look up the word Ben in your strong concordance, you will learn that Ben means son. So with the book of Ecclesiasticus, the reason why we hear other people say Ben Sirach, they're talking about the author of the book or the person who wrote that book, which means the son of Sirach. Okay. So that's what Ben means. Then the last part that you see here is Metiyahu. Metiyahu. For those who had access to, I think it was, what was that book? Hallelujah Acres or Hallelujah Scripture, something like that. They came out with a Bible with more of the Hebraic names. So when you study about the Hebraic names, you know this is another way you would say Matthew. Matiyahu is the Hebraic or the Hebrew word for Matthew. Okay. And you know, because of languages, there's more than one way or a break off from a certain name. But right now we're looking at root words. So when we look at Josephus' name, and that's another thing I need to bring up. What I like about Wikipedia, they show you how his name would have been written. Okay, as you see here, we have modern Hebrew. Then we see how his name would have been written in the Greek tongue. But what I like about Wikipedia, they list the references, okay, that they use. And I'm gonna click on number 5. As a matter of fact, I'm going to click down so we can go down below so we can get 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So this is under the category of notes and references. And when we look at 4 and 5 and 6, it's giving us the reference they are giving us or how they was able to give his name in Hebrew, then how his name would be written in the Greek, and how we say his name today in the modern English. So as you see here, number 4, you see what that reference note is. I'm not going to go over word for word, but this is something you can look up in your spare time. And also you see how it's written in number 6. It's more written, this reference look like it's more in the Greek tongue. Okay. But what I want to look at is number 5. Number 5, it says here, Josephus refers himself in his Greek works as, this is how they would say in the Greek, and I'm not going to try to say this, okay? But they show you how you would say this in the Greek tongue. Because when you read a work of Josephus, he let us know first he wrote his works in the Hebrew tongue. Then he translated it into the Greek tongue, because Josephus was standing up for the nation of Israel to give an accurate history of us. Do you hear me, Yashrael? Do you hear me, Israelites? He was giving an accurate record of our history, because there was Gentiles or other people given an inaccurate record of our history. Very important. Josephus played a big part. And when you read his book, especially when you read about his life preference, I highly recommend you read that. You will learn that the Father ordained him to do so. And we see why now. Because when we go in the heathens book, and also even our own people book, you will find that they were lying or they was given an inaccurate record. Okay. So when you translate his name from the Greek tongue to the modern English tongue, it would say Josephus was the son of Math, of Math, okay, Matthias, okay. And it also say that Josephus spoke Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. That's what I like about these sites. They show you their resources. So what you can do your due diligence and check it out, which brings us to this. Sister Lydia went to the work of Josephus to make sure that he is the son of Matthias. And it's very important to know his lineage because y'all, he comes from a very well-known family dealing with the priesthood because they've been questioned about Josephus' lineage. They didn't know if he was a Israelite or where he was a Gentile. Well, Josephus cleared all that up. Let us first go to the Book of Wars. In the Book of Wars of the Jews, or known as the history of the destruction of Yahusha, there's a preference there. And in that preference, Josephus revealed unto us who he is. Okay, so I'm going to start reading. Let me see where I'll go at. I'm going to read, I guess I probably need to read all of this so you can see why Josephus wrote these books. Starting at the beginning, y'all. So I'm going to just read all of this. Whereas the war which the Jews made with the Romans have been the greatest of all those, not only that have been in our times, but in a manner of those that were heard of. Sorry, of those that ever were heard of. Both of those wherein cities have fought against cities, or nations against nations, while some men who were not concerned in the affairs themselves have gotten together vain and contradictory stories by hearsay. Do y'all hear this? Some men who were not concerned in the affairs themselves have gotten together vain and contradictory stories by hearsay, and have written them down after a sophistical manner. And while those that were there present have given false accounts of things, and this either out of a humor of flattery to the Romans, or of hatred towards the Jews. And while their writings contain sometimes accusations and sometimes encomiums, but know where the accurate truth of the facts. I'll say this again, but know where the accurate truth of the facts. I have proposed to myself, for the sake of such as live under the government of the Romans, to translate those books into the Greek tongue. Do y'all hear this? Josephus is telling you that his writings, or those books that he was quoting from, was in the Hebrew, was in the Hebraic tongue. It was, in other words, the Israelites spoke Hebrew. So it's in their tongue. So he had to translate it. Okay. So I'm going to say this again. To translate those books in the Greek tongue, which I formerly composed in the language of our country and sent to the upper barbarians. Joseph, the son of Matthias, by birth a Hebrew, a priest also, and one who at first fought against the Romans myself, and was forced to be present at what was done afterwards, am the author of this work. Okay, so far those references lining up. Now this is coming out of his own mouth. He's telling you he is what? By birth a Hebrew. He's telling us that he's actually an Israelite, Israelite. I can't say the word. In the Hebrew tongue, we say Yashrael because we bear our Father name and we have power with him and with men. For our name are made of three parts. It's made up of Yah, made up of our mother named Sarah, and made up of our Father in heaven's title, which is El, for he is the God. He is above all gods. Okay, so he is clarifying to us who he is, who is his who is his nation, and who is his tribe. He also revealed unto us he come from the lineage of Aaron, so he holds the right to the high priesthood. So that's let us know he has access to the sacred scrolls. Okay, so you can see where he get his information from when he has written these books unto us. He's also letting us know that there was a time he too fought against the Romans before he became subjected under their government. Okay, another part we want to go to is dealing with the life of Josephus. He gave an account there. And we're going to start with this part because he gives you in detail his lineage. Okay, maybe I guess I better read the whole paragraph because it's some good stuff in here. The family from which I am derived is not an ignoble one, but have descended all along from the priests. And as nobility among several people is of a different origin, so with us to be of the sacerdotal dignity is an indication of the splendor of a family. Now, I am not only sprung from a sacerdotal family in general, but from the first of the 24 courses. Y'all need to understand about that 24 courses now. Later on, we'll be touching on that as we study his calendar. And as among us, oh, Father's telling me to give you a hint, 24. What number can we multiply to get 24? 12 times 2. How many months in a year? Just see what I'm saying? Again, we're going to be learning about this as we go further into his calendar. But let us continue. And as among us, there is not only a considerable difference between one family of each course and another. I am of the chief family of that first course also. Nay, further by my mother, I am of the royal blood. Hallelujah. But let's keep going, y'all. For the children of, I think there's another way to say them. They are, what's another name, y'all, dealing with the Maccabees? Because we know the priests ruled for a certain period of time. Then after them came King Herod.
Melchizedek.
Hasmonean. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Oh.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Brother Al, and thank you, Sister Huda. Okay. For the children of the Hasmoneans, from whom that family was derived, have both the office of the high priesthood and the dignity of a king. Father's telling me you need to read the prophet Zechariah. He talks about that. Okay, dealing with the diamond. For a long time together, I will accordingly set down my progenitors in order. My grandfather was named Simon, with the addition of Celis. He lived at the same time with the son of Simon the high priest, who first of all the high priest was named Hyrcanus. This Simon Celis had 9 sons, one of whom was Matthias, called Ephlius. He married the daughter of Jonathan the high priest, which Jonathan was the first of the sons of the Harmonius, who was a high priest, and was the brother of Simon the high priest also. This Matthias had a son called Matthias Curtis, and that in the first year of the government of Hyrcanus. His son's name was Joseph, born in the 9th year of the reign of Alexandra. His son Matthias was born in the 10th year of the reign of I think it's pronounced as Archaeus. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. As was I born to Matthias in the first year of the reign of Caius Caesar. Y'all want to for those who have a copy of Josephus or who can print out this page, you want to underline, because Josephus is telling you that he was born to Matthias in the first year of the reign of Caius Caesar. I have 3 sons. Hyrcanus, the eldest, was born in the 4th year of the reign of Vespasians, as was Justus born in the 7th. Do y'all hear that? In the 7th year of Vespasians. And Agrippa in the 9th. Thus have I set down the genealogy of my family as I have found it described in the public records. So bid, I think that said add do to those who clan. Can somebody say that word for me? I don't want to mispronounce that word.
Calumniate.
Okay, thank you, my brother. Those who calumniate me as of a lower origin. I tell you, Josephus will give you some powerful stuff. But this information he gives y'all is very important. You're going to see how it ties in with the calendar. Okay? So that's something to put away on the side, because we're probably going to bring this back later on as we learn more about the Father's calendar. Very good information. Let's see here. I'm going to make sure.
And Josephus's writings is of the proscribed writings, which is the forbidden. So it's a way to keep us away from looking into it.
Yeah.
And I see why.
Yeah. And you're going to find too, that's why I tell people about all the books. When the heathen transliterate some of these books, yes, they did some alteration. But the Father reminded me about this. He said, who allowed these things? He does. Satan has to get permission for everything, y'all. Look at the servant Job. So by knowing this, don't you think the Father going to have these writings set up in a way that only his servant, an Israelite, can only reveal it to the rest of the world? But yet, our fellow brethren want to put these books away. And I'm like, what are you doing? There's a code in there. And our Father in heaven has put something in us that only allow us to unlock the code. Do y'all see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So just because we had the Gentiles to translate some of these books, and we can see where they put their little touch on some stuff. However, you can still get the truth. But only the Spirit of y'all can reveal it to you. There's codes in there. Because when you read Josephus' writing, y'all, it reads just like the Bible. He put a part here, he put a part there. And you got to put these parts together. He did that for a reason. The Father's always a step ahead of the enemy. So when the enemy thought he was doing some harm or damage, he didn't do nothing. Okay? So I'm going to take this out now. We'll get this link. So y'all have the links, and then I'll be sharing these links with y'all so y'all can have for further study. So when we look at Josephus' name, you're probably saying, well, why do we see 2 different names? You have to understand about language. And that's, again, especially to my Israelite brethren, okay? There is a difference between, I'm sorry, let me correct myself, especially to all, whether you're an Israelite or whether you're Gentile. We got to understand about language. There is a difference between word transliteration versus word corruption. So in Josephus' case, especially when you're dealing with the Gentiles, when you think about people's tongues, they can't pronounce what we pronounce because that's not the language they speak. So they're going to give you a name, or give you a name that translates into their language that they can speak. So this is why we know him as Josephus. But in the Hebrew tongue, we learn that his name is actually pronounced, let me go back, as Yosef ben Mattiyahu. And you see why with our people, why we list who their father was, because when you study about our ancestors' lineage, they will use the same name of their forefathers. So So how to identify who is who, you have to know who's one father is. Okay. Another good example is look at Luke chapter 1. When John the Baptist's father took him to the high priest, and the high priest asked him, well, are you not going to name him this? And he said no. And the person was shocked because the name that he was supposed to be named was a name of his ancestor. Instead, his father named him what the Spirit told him to name him. Okay. And this is why I stress to my brothers and sisters, you have to do your due diligence to make sure you have the right person. And also, this will give you a hint about the maps. When we look in the continent of Africa, of course, you're going to see some of the same names that we see in the Bible for lands. Okay. However, if you come in the whole Bible book, especially Torah being your foundation, you would know where the true location of Yahusha, the same place where you have Melchizedek residing over, because he also held the office of high priest and king. And the hint is that is in Genesis. It gives you the borders where Yahusha will fall in. But many err because they see these names on the map. They see, now here's the true location because it has that name. But they don't understand the history of our people. They reuse these same names. They will reuse the same names of the lands. What? To remind them of home. Okay. Do everybody understand that part?
Yes.
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 Okay. So
Yes.
as we see here, another way to say Josephus' name, you can call him Yosef, which means what? Joseph or Josephus. Like I said, it's a little twist. It's all dealing with, how they add a little stuff on. But you got to look at that. You have to look at the root of the name, and we can see the name Joseph in this name. Okay. So Yosef ben Mattiyahu meaning that he is what? The son of, we can say, the son of Matthias. Okay. All right. So let me see if did I add that link to the sheet? Make sure before I take it away. Yeah, I did. So we're going to take this off. So I'm trying to make sure. Did I answer your question in fullness, my brother?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Okay. Which gears us to this. I'm going to go over this quickly because y'all, we got some other stuff to go through. Let me minimize this. In the King James 1611 Bible, especially the side notes, y'all, it gives us the names of those in the Greek tongue and the Hebrew tongue. And it's right there. Again, the King James 1611 Bible is not the book you want to put away with. This is the evidence to use against the heathen. So let me go with this with you right quick. We already talked about the name of Yahusha. For when you go from the Hebrew to the Greek, you would get Iosa, Iosa. So when you go to the English tongue, you will learn that according to the transliteration, not word corruption, transliteration, that its name will be Joshua in the English tongue. Okay. This is why there are those of us who prefer to say Yahusha and Joshua. Again, you have to understand the difference between word transliteration versus word corruption. And this can be found in the side note of Hebrews chapter 4. Even there's a prophet, there's a couple of prophets in the Old Testament will give you his name in the Greek tongue as well. Right there. But this is something that the Gentiles hide from us. Okay. Again, we're in the beast kingdom. Next thing, when you look at Isaiah, when you go to the new covenant, you can see his name pronounced differently because it's in the Greek tongue. They would say Isaias. That's how the Greek would say his name in their tongue. But when we go back to the Hebrew, like Bible Hub, you would see that his name was actually pronounced in the Hebrew tongue as Yahshua. Again, we see our Father name in his name, which means Yahuwah has saved. And that's found in H3470. Okay. Another thing, the word or part of our Father name can be found in 1 Kings chapter 17 verse 1 in the side note of the King James 1611 when we look at the prophet Elijah. Okay, so I'm showing you the different spelling variation of Elijah going from modern English to Old English. And when you substitute the I to the Y, because we're dealing with transliteration, you will learn that in the Greek tongue, they can't say Y, so they will replace it with an I, okay? But when I break it down back to the Hebrew, you would get Eliyahu, and you can see our Father name in his name, which means Yahu means I am he that saved, okay, which we'll get down here further. Same thing in 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 3 of the 1611 Bible. In the side note, when you look at the name Obadiah, okay, that's how they say it in the English today. But in the side note, it's giving you a hint about how you would say in the Hebrew or close to the Hebrew tongue. It would say Obadiahu, okay, which his name means servant of Yahuwah. And that's found in H5662, okay. When we look at the Yahoo, now we would tell you about them because they know we go in these books and study. I know when you go into strong concordance of Isaiah chapter 41 verse 4, for some reason you don't see Yahoo, you see something else. But all you have to do, y'all, go to the other scriptures, find something that has he, or find something that has I am, and it's going to lead you back to either Yahoo or who. Who in the Hebrew tongue means he, H1931. Yah in the Hebrew tongue means what? The same, which is H3050. So there's other scriptures we can cross-reference to get the correct interpretation or to get the correct transliteration. We were going from modern English to Old English to Latin to Greek to Hebrew. Okay? That is FYI. All right, now let's get to the good part here. We're going to talk about the 11 month. I hope y'all been working on your calendar and y'all fill out your calendar for the 11th month. I got pin drop.
I've started.
No, I need to talk on that.
I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna do it today.
Okay. We're definitely doing as soon as possible so you don't get far behind. Before you know it, this might be over with and the 12th month be here. Okay. When we look up the word Shabbat, or okay, we say it two ways. It's either Sebat or Shabbat. And you notice when you study the Hebrew letters, the buff can sometimes be interchanged with a V because it has more of a V sound. Instead of buh, it can be buh, depending on your tongue and your dialect. Okay. But in the Bible, so I just hit the button to sound this. It can be pronounced as Shabbat or Sebat, okay, depending on your dialect and your tongue. So, but in the Bible, we have it spelled as S-B-A-T, okay? So basically, according to the definition, all this is saying unto us that this month, this Hebrew month, usually fall in the month of the heathens month of January and February, okay? And it's known to be the 11th year. Right here, they got what? Of the righteous year. But what is the 11th month of? What year? Because we talked about this. For those who are reading this definition now, you should get a hint of what I'm asking you. What is this 11th month of? Right here, they put the word righteous year.
I'm guessing is it like a y'all year, like y'all calendar year?
Okay, let me read the definition to give you a hint, so you can see what I'm asking. Because I taught this to y'all several weeks ago. Okay, now I know some of y'all knew, so I don't expect y'all to know this. Okay, the 5th month of the civil and the 11th of the righteous year usually coinciding with parts of January and February. When we look at the Israelite calendar, the YAHUAH calendar. Is it ringing a bell yet?
Dealing with Israel?
What are the two type of years we studied when we first came together that we keep record of? I mean, say that again, sis, or what you just said.
Dealing with Israel.
Okay, you on the head. It is dealing with Israel, right?
Yes.
So what are the 2 years? Because you said part of it. You said it's dealing with Israel. What are the 2 years we studied? Look at that definition, y'all, because it's giving you a hint.
Gentiles.
Okay, here's the key word: civil. What is civil talking about? It says that Sebat is the 5th month of the civil in a YAHUAH calendar, in the Israelite calendar. Now it's saying it's the 5th month of the civil, but it's the 11th month of the righteous year. I think my new ones won't know because y'all just came in.
Is it like civil, like the civil, I don't know how to put it, like ways that, like the good works of Yah?
Okay, for my new ones, I think y'all just came in. When we first came together, I identified with the family the 2 types of years, okay? Because when you go in Torah, you're going to learn that when our father spoke unto Moses, he changed it, okay? He changed it. He told Moses, you would keep your year, or you would start your year with a V. So when they say in a righteous year, they talking about the reason why Sebat is the 11th month of the righteous year. They talking about the Israelite year. The Israelite year. Okay. When they talk about Sebat being the 5th month of the civil, they talking about the civil year. This is the year that our ancestor kept, starting from Abraham all the way down before Moses. They actually started their year in the 7th month, known as Ethanim. In the Babylonian tongue, they said Tishri. Very important to know. Very important to know, because if you don't know this information, you're not going to get the correct date for the flood. Okay. So in the civil year, Sebat is the 5th month, but in the Israelite year, YAHUAH year, it's the 11th month. Okay. Let me close this out. So now let's get the date. Let me check, make sure my date is right. So now I'm going to take you to the calendar. We first going to take a look at some photos. Because remember what Torah said, you must have 2 or 3 witnesses. So how do we know that January the 14th is the new moon day? What do we got to observe, y'all, in the heavens? What is the sign in the heavens to let us know that we are beginning a new month?
The new moon.
New moon. And what is the new moon?
New month.
The first month, the start of a new month.
In other words, when you look in the heaven, what is a new moon? What are you looking for?
That first visible crescent.
That's right. Because what? The prophet told us what it is. The prophet Enoch, he told us. He said the beginning of your month is what? That crescent. When light first shined upon her. When light first shined upon the moon. So, all praise to the Most High. My brother sent me some beautiful pictures, y'all, because he's over there in Arizona. And look how beautiful his pictures are, y'all. And he was blessed to get a sighting of the new moon crescent. And what direction, according to the compass I shared with y'all, can the new moon be seen? What direction? Or in other words, what corner can the new moon be seen?
Southwest corner.
Huh?
Southwest corner.
Okay, I can understand what I mean. I understand why you said southwest. Because you look at the actual point where you're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just going to summarize, say that you have to look in the west to find it. But I understand why you say it, and good observation, sis. Okay. You have to look in the west direction to find where your crescent is. What time of the day can you see this phase? What time of the day?
Just before sunset.
Okay, is it just before sunset or after sunset?
After.
After. Why? Think about what Genesis told us about the sun. What did Genesis tell us about the sun?
It's the greater light.
Yes, so it's the greater light. So it would be difficult to see the moon in this phase because it's not as bright as the sun. So this is why your chances of seeing this phase is better when the sun is what? Going down or completely down. Because there's still light remain in the sky, as you see in this picture here. There's still light remain in the sky. But once the sun go down, you can see this phase better. Also, it can go into the evening. And the part of evening I'm talking about is when there's no light in the sky and it's only night. Again, like I said, it can vary some. But that is the window of time to look for your new moon. Okay? Very important to know. So that way you're not standing outside all day long trying to find something. Okay? Now, other things that can affect your eyesight of seeing the new moon, it can be cloudy. You could be in what we call a sandstorm. You could be at a place where you have things blocking your view, such as trees and tall buildings. Or you can be on a land where it's just too low, where you can't see your horizon. So all those things you have to take in consideration when you're going to look for the new moon crescent. Okay. Again, like I said, Torah comes in 2 or 3 witnesses. I got some good news. Even our brother Yahusha saw the new moon with everybody else this time. That's rare. That's rare. Okay. He too saw it on January the 14th. And the time he saw it was at 5:10 p.m. Now he's over there in the land of Israel, y'all. Brother Kiefer is over here in the Americas, so he saw it at 5:15 p.m. Remember, we're in different time zone. So we're about 7 hours behind Israel. Okay, so this time, Brother Yahusha and the Yahad also saw the new moon on the same day with us. Now, this picture that you see here is from Truth Table Ministry. He's also, I think he's in Arizona too, and he also saw the new moon on January the 14th. And look at the sky, y'all. See how dark it's right here? And you got light here. It's beautiful to see how light is leaving out and how night is coming in. Okay. Then we have the renewmoon.com website that give us the reportings of everybody moon sighting from around the world, which is very important that we look at this. And now I'm noticing that with renewmoon.com, they're now giving us what pictures or what people are turning into them. because they do get people pictures. I used to share my pictures with them when I was over there in California when I was sighting the moon. So I'm glad that this time they're actually showing people pictures to confirm what people are seeing. Okay. Okay, and that's all for that month. So for those who are keeping record, it's very important that what? We have proof. Because like Tori said, we got to come in 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Just can't take somebody's word for it. You got to come in 2 or 3 witnesses. So the Father always, that's how he operates, to give us confirmation. The next document we're going to take a look at, this is something that I do because when we was looking at doing the calculation for the sun 364 day, you see why it's very important to keep a tally sheet. That's what this sheet is all about. It's titled as 2020-2021 yearly summary sheet. Basically, it's just a big tally sheet, so I don't have to keep going back and forth with my calendar. This tally sheet has helped me to see the whole picture. And I thank the Most High that I went back to, because again, I had an error, y'all. But anyway, I'm just going to take you to the part that we're on now in this tally sheet to close out the 10th month. Because we're going to go to the calendar, but to close out the 10th month, the moon had 30 days, y'all. Now, unfortunately, I can't get the exact timing when we see the moon crescent in the sky. So I have to use time and date. What's the word I'm looking for? Time and date when, according to their new moon standards. So it's just an estimation. And the reason why I look at extra timing, because it's going to give us understanding what's written in the book of Jubilees. So I do look at extra timing of these luminary phases. Very important. Then I also list how many days Israel has and how many days Yahusha has for the moon. I'm keeping up with their record too. Again, if someone's saying that, if someone telling you to follow them, because they are teaching you about the calendar, the way I look at things, all your numbers should balance out like a checkbook. And you should be able to explain why you are seeing something different versus the rest of the world seeing something different. So that's why I say we should keep records to compare, because by keeping records to compare, it will edify us. So if there are any overlooked errors or mistakes, we can make those corrections, especially when you're teaching people about his calendar. Now we look at the sun. What I want to point out to you, look at the Gentiles. They already had came to 365 days. So once their month known as December completed, they have now come to 365 days. However, when you study the Most High calendar, we're still in winter. We are still in winter. Just something to think about. Now, as far as the days of the sun for its 10th month, we had a total of 30 days. But when we look at extra time in the sun, but the reason why we look at that, we're looking at when did the sun enter into that sign and what's the exact timing. And later on, you will see why that's important. And then in my side notes, I list down what dates that Israel, the rest of the world versus Yahusha, all of us together, what date we actually seen the new moon. And that's very important to know, because when you go to the top of this tally sheet, I want to see how many days my brother Yahusha have in his calendar how many days how many days he have in his calendar for the moon. Same thing with Israel. I want to see how many days they have in their calendar for the moon in comparison to the Most High calendar. Okay. And you'll see why that's important. All right. So I'm going to close this sheet out right here. Okay. Now to the calendar. Make sure I had copied this so I could add this link to my sheet so it'll be easier for me to get to this site. Now we're going to the 10th month. Not 10th month. We done closed the 10th month out already. Now we're going to the 11th month, okay? So as you see with the Most High calendar, what it's going to fall in between 2 years. And I don't think this, I don't got the right date. That's why I didn't change the date in this. Thank you, Father. I'm like, this don't look right. This is supposed to say 2020-2021. As you see, I copy and paste from last year. But that's very important to know. Israelites and Gentiles, it's very important to understand the Most High calendar and his time, because it does not match what the heathens taught us. Okay. I also keep a track of those who don't believe in the 13th month, because like I said, math don't lie. They're going to be starting their Passover in winter, which they already has. So that's the proof. So while we're in our 11th month, they are in their 12th month. And this started from, I think, in the year of, when we had the 13th month. I started keeping record of this starting from, I had to go over here, starting from the year of 2015 to 2016. So I've been keeping record from that time for those who say they didn't believe in the 13th month, well, that's where they are now. And what some people do, they won't be honest and try to jump ship. They come up with us and acting like, oh, they didn't change anything. Yeah, you'll see that too. Okay. So they start having their Passover in February in the year of 2019. So they're going to be going further and further back. So again, we're in our 11th month and they're in their 12th month, for those who are being honest. So again, the name for the 11th month is Sebat, and it means a rod. It's a mystery in that, y'all. And a word will be given out sometime this weekend on the mystery about this month, because the Father revealed unto me that these months have heavenly messages. He's saying things unto us, and it's time for us to know what they are. Okay, so this month Sebat starts in the month, which starts in the heathen month between January and February. Okay, according to the formula that was given unto the prophet Ezekiel, and due to the day that this moon was sighted on, like the new moon was sighted on, we would get a calculation that your Sabbath day will now fall on Thursday to Friday from sundown to sundown. Scriptures to read regarding the new moon, because you'll learn with the Most High. These are worship days. These are holy days unto him, and he knew how to throw a feast, y'all. So we need to do our due diligence and to learn these things, because we will keep these things in the kingdom to come. And there's other scriptures that are listed that relates to the 11th month. Now I'm going to share with y'all 2 scriptures to meditate on and to keep until the day comes when he had me to preach the mystery about Shabbat, meaning a rod. It's a mystery on that. Scriptures to read are Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 37. And it says, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. There's some questions you need to be asking the Father here. What does it mean that the Israelites or the Yisraelites, or Yisrael shall pass on the rod? What did that mean? And how? And the next question you need to ask: how he going to bond them to the covenant? Another scripture to read is Psalms 23, verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Now, I know this month is focusing on the rod, but we're going to also include the staff. What does it mean, y'all? Y'all need to ask the Father the question. How is his rod and staff going to comfort you? What does that mean? What I'm speaking of is spiritual things. This is not carnal things. So soon the Father will have me to preach this word unto you so you can understand the mystery. So on your calendars, y'all can cheat now. Go ahead and bring your calendars out. Your first new moon day will be on January the 14th, and it's going to end on January the 15th.
Sis, I just finished mine.
Yeah, go ahead and cheat. Multitask. And your son's date, it is the son's 10th month and 25th day. How I got this number, all I did, y'all, I went to my previous calendar month, which was the 10th month, and I looked at my last day, okay, and I just counted from there. So as you see here, on the 30th day of the 10th month, the date of the sun was the 10th month and the 24th day. That's how I got that number. All right, let's keep it moving. So how many Sabbath, well, put it like this. What I can't say nothing right. What a person must have in their calendar. What is the first thing you should see in their calendar, y'all? And I just talked about it.
The 3 lights.
The new moon.
The new moon. So your first day should be what? The new moon day. Okay, you're going to see why. Because again, he giving Ezekiel the formula, right?
Yes.
So we open up with the new moon day. Then we have what? 6 days to work. All right. That east gate going to be closed for 6 days. So now when we look at the first week of the moon, we see here on day 6 that the sun entered to the 11th sign of Mazzaroth. And when that does that, which we're going to Enoch Writings, we're going to expound more on this. This makes the sun 10th month to be its last day. So as I count all them other days before, I got a count of 30 days. So this is the 30th day of the sun's 10th month. And it falls on the heathen date, which is January the 19th to January the 20th. So my next day, which is day 7 of the moon, right? Day 7 of the moon. My next day will mark the first day of the sun's 11th month. Okay? And that falls on the heathen date from January the 20th to January the 21st. And as you see here, on this same day, the moon will be what? I think it's, waxing. That means to what? To increase in light. It's going to be increasing to 50%. And the time and date of this phase is January the 20th, 2021 at 11:01 p.m. And this is in Israel Standard Time. Okay? Remember, we start with Israel. It begins with Israel. So our first Sabbath now will fall on the 8th day because what? We got to have 6 working days from the new moon day. So the new moon day is day 1. Then after the new moon day, we have to have 6 working days, which is day 2 is 1, day 3 is 2, day 4 is 3, day 5 is 4, day 6 is 5, day 7 is 6. That's the 6th working day. Then the east gate gonna be open, which is known as the Shabbat, the Sabbath, the 7th day, which is day 8 of the moon. Okay, this is the first Sabbath. How many Sabbaths must you have in your calendar month?
4.
How many?
4.
4 Sabbaths. Okay, ain't it amazing? You have a beginning, then you have 4 Sabbaths. What it remind you of? To give you a hint about the Father. You have a beginning, and then you have 4 Sabbaths. All right. So your first Sabbath fall on January the 21st to January the 22nd from sundown to sundown. And the date of this Sabbath will fall on the sun's 11th month and 2nd day. Okay. Now we go to the 2nd week of the moon. 2nd week of the moon, we have on the 15th day of the moon, this is when the moon is a full moon. She's 100% illuminated with light. And the date of this phase is January the 28th in the year of 2021 at 9:16 p.m. Israel Standard Time. Okay. And it falls on the sun's 11th month and 9th day. And the heathen date is January the 28th to January the 29th from sundown to sundown. So this is your 2nd Sabbath. Now we get to the 3rd week of the moon. In the 3rd week of the moon, When we look at the 18th day, this is when we have the heathens month starting. What, February? February we coming in on this day. And it falls on the sun's 11th month and 12th day. And the date of the heathens would be for January the 31st at sundown to February the 1st at sundown. Okay, this is in the third week of the month, known as the moon, third week of the moon, right? So when we get to the 22nd day of the moon, this is our what? Let me count, our third Sabbath, right? And on this day, we have the moon decreasing in light, known as waning. So it's decreasing down to 50%, becoming a half moon. And the date and time of this phase is on February the 4th in the year of 2021 at 7:37 p.m. in Israel Standard Time. And it falls on the sun's 11th month and 16th day. As far as the date of this third Sabbath, it would be on February the 4th to February the 5th from sundown to sundown. Then we go to the fourth week. In the fourth week of the moon, we have the moon decreasing in light to now the moon is working herself to be in a sliver. But notice the size of it. Notice what side of the moon this sliver is on. That's another thing. Because when you know where this sliver is, you'll know that she's working to the end of the month. By knowing these phases inside and out and knowing when you can see them, because this phase is only seen in the latter part of the night to the morning and afternoon. Not afternoon, to noon. This is the only time you can see this phase. So if you see this phase at that particular time, that means latter part of the night, late at night to noon, then you know you are getting close to the end of the month. This is why the Father had the moon to change her phases. So you'll know where you are in his calendar month. Okay? So this happened on the 28th day, and this is known as the last waning crescent. That means she's decreasing in light, and it falls on the sun's 11th month and 24th day, which is falling on the Gentile date or the heathen's date, February the 10th to February the 11th from sundown to sundown. Now we get to the 29th day. This is the day when the moon has no light upon her. And because she has no light upon her, y'all, you cannot see her in the heavens. Now, this is the question I have to ask to you. How many days can we have like this when you have no light upon the moon? How many days? That's if the heavens is clear, y'all. You know, everything's perfect. How many days of this phase can we have?
One or two.
Three.
One or two. Two.
Three.
One or two.
Okay.
One or two. This is why it amazed me for those who follow the dark moon, because you think about it. The words say he is the father of light, right? And the words say he always give us a sign. So what sign you think the Father going to give? In other words, do you think he's going to give you a sign where you have a hard time to find or to see? Or do you think he's going to give you a sign where you can see and will not question, or there will be no shadow of a doubt? What do you think he's going to do?
The last one.
Be more specific for our family who's watching this video.
Reveal it to you.
He got to reveal it to you, because what? We are what? Adam. We are in flesh. We got to have confirmation. We can't have doubt. And even his word even give us confirmation. He tells us what? I am the Father of light. He's not the father of darkness. In other words, what he's doing, he's making a distinction between him and Satan. So when you read about the dark moon in the Gentile records, they would tell you, because you got to dig further, they would make a difference between what they call the astronomical new moon versus the new moon according to the Bible. They would tell you there's a difference between the two. What has happened, it was man who decided to name the dark moon as the new moon. But there are civilizations such as not only the Yahusha known as Israelites, But when you look at other civilizations, such as the Babylonians, such as the sons of Ishmael, they would tell you that the new moon is the silver crescent. And how did they get this information? Well, trace the root. Are they not the children of Noah? Was not Noah taught by our forefathers? Was not Noah given these sacred books, even Enoch Writings? This is how they come to know this. But because we are in their kingdom, because we're in the beast kingdom, and because the Gentiles are ruling, and they are teaching us their knowledge of what they get from the principalities like Satan and those angels, they're not giving us the correct information. So when you go to sites like Wikipedia and other sites, of course they're going to tell you that the dark moon is a new moon, because they didn't get that from the Father. They got that from Satan. But they will also go on to tell you that in the biblical way, or when you look at these civilizations such as the Samaritans, the Babylonians, and the sons of Ishmael, they would tell you that the new moon is actually the crescent. And I see why our fellow Israelite brethren get hooked up on this. But if you go in the word, and like the Messiah said, I had given you my prophets. He gave us the prophet. He gave us the prophet who was given the prophecies on these lights in the heaven. So who should we believe? The prophets or the heathens' records? The prophets, because they are his mouthpiece. They didn't get it from their mind. They didn't get it from their flesh. They got it from our Father. Our Father spoke directly to them to give it to us. Okay, enough on that. So this phase will occur on February the 4th in the year of 2021 at 9:05 p.m. in Israel Standard Time. I need to take out that sunset stuff because they ain't supposed to be there. That's from last year. Israel Standard Time. Okay. And because this phase happened after sundown, it will fall on, I don't think I got the right date in this. Nope, I sure don't. I ain't got the right date.
Is it supposed to be
I
February 11th?
It's February 11th. That what you say, sis? Yes. But do I got the right time? Are you on time and date?
No.
Let me check. Let me pull it up. I want to make sure. Where is my... And I know how this happened, y'all, because I was doing some of this stuff on my phone. And you know the phone screen. It's small.
And they said the last Sabbath would be February 11th.
I haven't got to that part yet, sis. I'm still on the dark moon phase. Let me get the date and time of this moon phase right quick. Okay, let me pull it on up. Okay, let me make sure I got the right country too on time and date. Let me put this in here. Okay, in Tel Aviv, Israel, the dark moon phase will be on February the 11th in the year of 2021 at 9:05 p.m., which is very important to know. Okay, now line up. That look better. So this phase happened after sundown. Therefore, it will fall on the heathen's day from February the 11th to February the 12th from sundown to sundown. And this will be your fourth Sabbath in his calendar. Now, as far as the date of the sun, where the Sabbath will fall on, it will fall on the sun's 11th month and 23rd day. Okay. So we have what? A beginning, which is the Aleph. In the Greek tone, they say Alpha. Then we have 4 Sabbaths, four days of rest, which is the 7th day. And then if the moon is perfect, if she's perfect in her month, she would end in what? 30 days. And the 30th day represent what? The end. The Tov, the Omega. I just love how the Father do it. He shows himself in his creations as well. Not only did he speak it about himself, he showed it in his creations. Okay. Now we get into the part with the sun when we look at Enoch's writings, because when I was telling you about when the sun entered into the 11th sign of Mazzaroth, and the 11th sign of Mazzaroth in the Gentile tongue, they had labeled as Aquarius, and it falls in the 300-degree location in the heaven, because everything now is what? A circuit. Okay. And I also gave you the date and time, but let me give you the date and time. In Israel time, it happens on January the 19th in the year of 2021 AD at 10:40 p.m. in Israel Standard Time. Okay. But on this day, what Enoch tells us, because we're going to that chapter today, is that on this day, you will have about 7 parts of daylight to 11 parts of night. So you're probably saying what that means. When you do your math and your conversion, you will learn that daylight would be about 10 hours and 40 minutes, and night would be about 13 hours and 20 minutes. Now, this is not going to be perfect, because guess what? The earth has been affected. It has been shifted. And even in the Most High prophetic messages that's located in the video description box, and also look at the letter I, y'all, for those who are watching the video, you will see that our Father has said this himself through his prophets and prophetess. It's there. Okay. This is why you see me. I had added articles to give you more information about this shifting. Also in this calendar month, in the 10th calendar month, I have put down, let me see. Did I put down the video in this part? Let me see where I put it at. Oh, that one. Not that one. Somewhere I had put the video giving you evidence of those who have been watching the heavens, because you have tribes in the earth who do not depend on the Gregorian calendar. They have been watching the heavens for generations upon generation, and they too have noticed a shifting taking place. Okay. Again, Yahusha Israelite is a sign unto you of who you are, which brings us to this, so I won't forget. We are in the season of perfection, and we are in the great insurrection. There are videos listed to give you more understanding of that, as well as the signs that has taken place in the earth when we had Saturn and Jupiter to come in alignment together, forming the great conjunction. We also have 2 other prophets among us. We had a prophetess and a prophet among us, also confirming what these signs in the heaven are telling us, and also confirming what the Father has told unto me about this season of perfection, which is the season of 21. Okay. I'm trying to think if it's anything else. But yeah, I would come back to this count and add the video link about the earth shifting. So y'all would have that to review and add to your records as well. Okay. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. Enoch. Matter of fact, let me take I'm gonna copy and paste this for example, because we all have talked about put it over here under the heathen's date. And let me get the calendar stuff too. I'm going to close this calendar out because it eats up a lot of memory. Oh, before we go to Enoch, I forgot one more thing we got to look at, y'all. I got to bring up that chart. And I'm laughing because I'm trying to think, I'm trying to see who finished the homework assignment. Remember that homework assignment we had with the chart of the 364 days?
Yes.
I want to see who had a chance to finish it up.
I did. Hold on. I got to go back and get my
Oh, shucks there.
find my notebook. Hold on.
And I'm laughing because I almost forgot. I said, oh my goodness, I forgot I'm supposed to go in there and finalize everything and recheck everything to make sure it's right of the 364 day. For those who are watching the video and who not understanding what I'm talking about, for the past 2 gatherings, we did a calculation to see if this person calendar will fall in spring and not in winter for those who keep a 364 day calendar. So you have to watch the prior 2 videos to get the full detail of that. So today we're just going to the final calculation because I said, I'm gonna go back and recheck this. And I think, yeah, I did have a little error, but it still don't change the outcome. They're still not having Passover in wintertime. So we're gonna look at the 21st year to get to the 20. Yeah, we're gonna look at the. I'm sorry, we're gonna look at the final year, which is looking at the 22nd year. We was looking at Brother Truth Unveiled 777 calendar record, and he gave us his year for the year of 2021 to 2022. So what we did, we took his information, we did a calculation to see will his calendar fall into winter. Okay, that's what we did. So we just took his information that he has. So his first day of his calendar year for the year of 2021 to 2022 was March the 23rd, starting at sundown, which fell on a Tuesday. Then his end date was March the 21st in the year of 2022. Okay, so we took that information and we did a calculation. And what I want to point out to you, as you see here, as I go by each year, you will see the year getting pushed back by a day or by 2 days, because when you put it on a Gregorian calendar, they keep leap year. Now, when they keep leap year, is not the correct time to keep leap year when you do your calculation and you're citing or when you're observing the heavens. Okay. However, we have to take that into consideration because this is what our brethren are using when they are tying in the Father's date to the heathen's date, because our people are not taught or don't know about the Father's calendar. So they have to tie the Father's date into a heathen date so they can understand when we keep these things. Okay. Well, if you notice here, there's a pattern. So, for example, in year 6 is March 17th. So when the next year come, their year will start on March the 16th. So as you see here, you do your math again, push back a day. Same thing in the 8th year. It goes from March the 16th to March the 14th, because in leap year, they had an extra day in February. So instead of minusing 1 day, you have to minus 2 days. And the same pattern would keep going. So from March the 14th, it increased down to March the 13th. Then the 10th year to March the 12th. 11th year, March, it would be March the 11th. 12th year, March 9th. 13th, March 8th. 7th in the 14th year. March 6th in the 15th year. March 4th in the 16th year. March 3rd in the 17th year. March the 2nd in the 18th year. And March the 1st in the 19th year. Now, March is completely zero out, so it will continue, but it will start in February. So going from March, and because we have a leap year, instead of minusing 1 day, it'll be 2 days. So February has, remember, 29 days. So we would start with, in the 20th year, February the 28th, okay? And then after February the 28th would be February the 27th in the 21st year. Then in the 22nd year, it'd be February the 26th. That would be the first day in his year, if he continued this format. And what we did from that point, we did a calculation to see what day would Passover fall on. So for him, it would fall on March 11th. And for those who go by the equinox to determine when spring begin, as you see, Passover would not fall in spring for him. It would fall in winter. Okay. All right. Do y'all get the same answer?
Yes.
Oh, all praises. I did it right. Now I'm going to send y'all this so y'all have this for your records so y'all can compare. Again, with math, you will have to write everything out to see, you know, if you have an error. But this is a good practice to do. Okay. All right. Now let's close out. Now for the nitty gritty, y'all. The exciting part. We're going in Enoch. So let me pause my screen and I'm going to pull Enoch up. Okay. Besides the one on sacred text, I also like this author. His name is let me see where his name is at. It's Joseph B. Lumpkin. I like his work and I thank him for the time that he did to go and have Enoch's writings translated. What we are coming to find out that the Jews of Ethiopia have all the sacred books. They kept it. In other words, we know the Roman Catholic Church and the Protestant remove a lot of the books. However, we have Israelites, you know, being a witness unto us, that we should be reading these sacred books. Okay. These are the books that the Father had ordained for the masses to read. All right. So now we're seeing that there are people going into their country to translate their books now because they speak the language of Geese. All right. But in one of their books, they do have the writings of Enoch. And that's very good to know because I know there's been a lot of debate and dispute about whether you should read Enoch's writings or not. However, I'm going to tell you this as a witness. Because I use the King James 611 Bible as my foundation, when I compare it to the book of Enoch, everything lined up perfectly. They do not contradict one another. So each to their own, because for me, I don't like to remain in a box. I want to go where the Father wants me to go. Okay, so when you do that, then the Father will begin to reveal more unto you. But if you put yourself in a box, He's gonna give you what you want. You're gonna remain in the box. All right, so I do highly recommend that you read these books. And just because you come to something that you don't understand, remember we are taught by the Spirit. Be patient, and the Father will give it unto you according to His time, His season, and also it's according to your heart, your faith, and your works. Because the Father knows His children, He knows what they can handle. All right, let's keep going. So let me see. We're going to page 70 in his book. So let me see. I'm going to type it here. Oh, not page 70. It's chapter 70. Chapter 70. So let me see where it would be, what page it would be. Here. 119. 119. I need to go to 119. I'm looking for chapter 70. I think I about went past it. Let me make sure. Here we go. Chapter 70. We're just going to, for this chapter, we're not going to read the whole chapter. Let me make sure I got the right one. Let me look at my notes. Okay. In your spare time for homework, I want you to read chapter 70 and 71 because it's going to give you an understanding about what does it mean for one to be translated or transfigured. Because when you look at Enoch, there's a time where he's dealing with him with these prophetic writings before he took him to heaven. And I think And the reason why you want to look at that, because in Yahuwah prophetic messages, the same happened to our sister Cassandra when he took her to heaven. Also, the same happened with John when he showed him the things that's written in Revelation. And it's reason why it's important because, again, we have Yashrael always putting our father in the box, always saying that this cannot happen, this cannot take place. But when you read the prophet's writings, we have two witnesses unto us, letting us know we had two taken to heaven in body, soul, and spirit. But his writings will expound on how that is possible. So that's why I say you probably want to read this in your spare time to get the true understanding about translated and transfigured. Again, our Father has the powers to do all these things, but we as Yashrael, Israelites, need to stop putting him in a box. Okay, so that starts on page 119 in Joseph Lincoln's book of those three books. First, second, third Enoch. But today we're going to go to chapter, I think it's chapter 72, but let me check my notes. Hold on, y'all. Okay, I'm back. All right, let me go to my notes. Okay, we're going to chapter 72. Okay, we're going to chapter 72. We start on page 123. Chapter 72. So we're going to read some of this today. This will be more than one part, okay, for the sake of time, because we're already in the 2 o'clock hour, and we're going to finish wrapping this up in the 3 o'clock. We're going to finish wrapping this up by 3. Okay, so we're going to start on this today, and then we'll come back and finish it out. So the part we're going into now is dealing with the sun, so we can understand when does the sun begin and end this month, and how can we tell when we go out and look in the heavens. Okay, so chapter 72. The book of the courses of the luminaries of heaven. That's talking about lights, y'all. So the book of the courses of the lights, with an S, of heaven. The relations of each according to their name, origin, and months, dominion, and seasons, which Uriel, the holy angel, who was with me, who is their God, showed me. And he showed me all their laws, regulations, exactly as they are, and how it is with each of the years of the world and to eternity, until the new creation is accomplished, which endures until eternity. Now that paragraph saying a lot here. Let me say this last part again. And he showed me all their laws, which are regulations, exactly as they are, and how each is with each of the years of the world to eternity, until the new creation is accomplished, which endures until eternity. Okay, verse 2. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern doors of heaven, and is setting in the western doors of heaven. So already this verse is confirming to us, it's giving us what? Instruction where the sun will rise, and it gives us instruction where the sun will set. Do y'all see this?
Yes.
So there should be no confusion or doubt. The prophet is telling us this is what it is. Okay? So according to this, the sun will rise in the east direction or eastward direction, and the sun will what? Set in the westward direction. But notice that he's saying what? Doors. And eventually we'll get to the part where we talk about portals. So the doors of heaven, those are key words. Verse 3. And I saw 6 doors in which the sun rises. 6 doors, y'all, that the sun rises. And 6 doors in which the sun sets. And the moon rises and sets in those doors. The moon also rises and sets in those doors. How many doors? 6 doors. Okay. And the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead. Another key word. Leaders of the stars and those whom they lead. 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. So as you see here, even the Father has a certain order how these lights rises and sets and which doors they go in. Okay. Verse 4. There were also many windows to the right and left of these doors. And first there goes out the great luminary named the sun, and his sphere orbit disk is like the sphere orbit disk of heaven. And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. So it's already given us what the sun should look like. So when you go out in the heavens, it should match up to what is written here, right? And those pictures I share with y'all showing you what? The sun is a sphere. It's in the shape of a what? A circle. Okay. And it goes on to say that the sun is filled with illuminating, that means filled with light, and a heating fire. Well, you know it's a ball of fire too, because it don't play, it burns up everything. So this morning when I was showing y'all a picture of the sun, what was around the sun that I was talking about that made it possible that we could see it?
Mist and cloudiness.
The mist and cloudy. But notice that as the sun, we say, okay, when the sun is permitted to do so, when it's allowed to shine its light so bright, what will happen to the mist?
It will evaporate.
It's going to evaporate. And once it evaporates, you can no longer see the true shape of the sun because of its light and fire that's in it. It's too bright. Okay. Also, just a quick reminder, go back on that first verse I read, because it's talking about something deep here about what? Until the new creation. So in other words, all these things have to play out. Like I tell people, the end shall bring forth the new beginning. And in the new beginning is eternity. Okay. So I'm gonna go back and just know in your spare time and meditate on. All right, let us read verse 5. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate door and shines in the face of heaven. Now I'm smiling as I read this verse because one of my sisters reached out to me and she sent me a picture. And I say, you know what, sis? That is so. Because it's been a while, y'all, since I read chapter 74. So the picture she sent to me, y'all, is lining to what this verse is saying. So let us read this verse again to understand what the sun is doing. Okay. Verse 5. The chariot on which he ascends. Okay. The wind drives. So it's let us know what pushes this chariot, right? It's the wind. So the wind drives, and the sun goes down from heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east. Now that makes sense. Where did the sun set, y'all?
West.
In the west.
West. So we cannot see what the sun is doing, right?
Yes.
Right. From night to morning. The only thing we see is in the morning where he rises. Most of the time, like right now this season, I can say this. I have seen the sun rise northeast. So the sun is doing some type of moving or going in a direction from the west point to the east point. So through this verse here, it let us know that to get from the west point to the east point, it has to go through the north. But this is the part we cannot see because we are in what? Evening time. And I think as the season progresses, we can get a better idea of this when we have daylight longer than night. Okay? To see what this verse is saying. All right. And it goes on to say, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate door and shines in the face of heaven. So because he does this, he would go through the correct door and he would shine before us. All right. Verse 6. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great door, which is the fourth. You want to underline this, y'all. Keywords. The sun will rise in the first month in the great door. The great door, which is the fourth. It's telling us something here. So as we read through this, we're going to learn what is the great door and which is the fourth. Verse 7. And in the fourth door from which the sun rises, in the first month are 12 windows, from which proceed a flame when they are open in their season. Again, we got keywords. We're going to, when we come back again, we're going to write this stuff out and take some notes so we can expound on what is the fourth door. Okay. And we see in this fourth door that the sun rises in, which is the first month, there are 12 windows. We got to expound on that about the 12 windows. And it goes on to say that from these windows proceed a flame when they are open in their season. That's saying a lot here, but let us keep reading. Verse 8, when the sun rises in heaven, he comes out through the fourth door, 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the fourth door in the west of the heaven. So we see here what? In verse 8, key words. When the sun rises in the heaven, he will come out through the fourth door. This is done with the first month now. And in this first month of coming through the fourth door, there can be 30 mornings that he's going to complete successfully. And then he's going to set accurately in the fourth door in the west of the heaven. Okay. Father's telling me, I'm giving you the location of when you should expect to see where the sun should rise and where the sun should set. Remember the four corners of the earth. So depending on what season we are in, we should be able to determine where the sun will rise and set. This is what Enoch is giving us. So we can see what? If everything is true, or we can see if these lights are performing a sign by acting out of order. Okay. Verse 9. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer and nights grow shorter to the 30th morning. Okay, let me read this again. It said during this period, the day becomes daily longer. When they're saying day, what phase of the day is talking about, y'all?
Like daylight phase? Morning.
That's right, daylight. Daylight, what? When we read this again.
Say
During
again.
this period, daylight will be longer or will be working to become longer, and nights will be growing to become shorter until we get to what? The 30th morning. And we're getting close to that time now. You're going to see it very soon. Okay. number 10. And then it says, on that day, the day is longer than the night by a ninth part, and the day amount exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. Let me see where to stop off at. Let me see, we need to read down. I'm going to pause here for right now. Okay. So let me read this last part. I think, you know what? I'm going to pause. Yeah, we pause at 10. It said, on that day, the day is longer than the night by a ninth part, and the day amounts exactly to the 10 parts, and the night to the 8 parts. We're going to pause here for today because it's already 2:43. And I'm going to come back with you with not like a chart, but it's going to be a diagram so you can see what this verse is saying. But for homework, I want you to reread chapter 72, verse 1 through 10. Because if you can do 1 through 10, guess what? You can do this whole entire chapter. If you can figure out 1 through 10, you can do this whole entire chapter. But yeah, for homework, read 1 through 10. However, the Father's also reminded me that you really need to read the whole chapter. Then you can understand how to do 1 through 10. Do everybody understand that?
Yes,
Yes.
sis.
Yes.
Yes, sis.
So I will come back with you on it when we meet together. We're gonna go straight into Enoch chapter 72, because you see this is a deep chapter. And I'm gonna come with a diagram where you can see what Enoch is saying about the 6 doors and the 12 windows. Okay. Then you begin to understand how I'm able to figure out when the sun starts and begin its month. You will begin to understand how I'm able to calculate what is 9 parts, what is 10 parts, 11 parts, and 12 parts. Also, what is 6 parts? I'm sorry, what is 6 parts, 7 part, 8 part, 9 part, all the way up to 12. So as you see here, we got some math to do as well. Okay. Far as the other 2 chapters I told you to read, you know, this reading your spare time is not a rush on that, but priority is chapter 72. Read all of 72 first, then you understand how to do 1 through 10. Y'all got it?
Yes.
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 All right. So I think that's enough today. Like I said, I ain't gonna lie. I know I give a lot, but I don't want you to get overwhelmed. So we're gonna break this mountain down piece by piece. So let me make a note to myself so I won't forget, because I got to get my diagrams for y'all. So I'm gonna put this at the top. Oh, I don't put it too much. There we go. Homework is to read First Enoch. Chapter 72. Okay. But we're going to focus on verse 1 through 10. And if time permit in class, we will break down the other verses as well. Okay. Everybody got that?
Yes, sis.
Got it, sis.
All right. So continue to watch them heavens. The more you watch it, you're going to understand what Enoch is saying about these doors and windows. What the Father's telling me, he's giving you what? Locations, knowing where to look for these lights when they rise and set. Okay, and pretty soon you will be able to determine what season you are in. Again, just by looking at the location where they're rising and setting, you will already know if you are in spring, if you're in summer, if you're in fall or winter. Then you're going to begin to understand why our ancestors was able to navigate easily by using the heaven, or why they was successful farmers, because they understood the heavens. That was the guide that the Father set for them to instruct them on them following things. So they didn't have computers. And that lead me to this. Now you see why with the Israelites, I question, they are really heavily dependent on the computer, especially for the dark moon. How you gonna know when the dark moon is? Because the only way they know the time of their phase, they have to go to the computer. You see what I'm saying? But our people didn't have computers. They used the heavens. They used what the Father created, according to Genesis chapter 1. All right, so let me end this recording. For those, we thank you for watching this with us. Well, I'm sorry, we back it up. We thank you for joining us to learn about the Father's calendar and his mysteries. As you see, we have so much to learn, and there's so much the Father wants to share with us, but we cannot allow to put ourselves in a box, nor to put him in a box. You have to allow the Spirit to come in and do what it needs to do to set you free, so you can receive what he has for you. All right, my brothers and sisters, continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand. But we can see the signs in the heaven and the earth, for we are in the season of perfection, known as 21. And we are in the midst of the great insurrection. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10 and follow those instructions. If you have no one to baptize you, you can baptize yourself, for the water is the second witness in the earth. For the Father has poured his Spirit upon all his creations. Therefore, they can report back unto him of those who enter into the new covenant, which is the new marriage. As the Egyptian eunuch says, where there's water, I shall be baptized. So you have no excuse. Long you can go in your bathroom, you go in your swimming pool, wherever there's water, ye can be baptized. For as the Holy Spirit baptism, all you have to do is ask in the name of Yahusha The Messiah, and our Father in heaven will give it unto you according to your heart, your faith, and your works. And we bid y'all shalom. So we're looking to come back on the next, I'm trying to think what the heathens would say. I'm talking about their terminology. We're looking to come back on the next Saturnines Day in the month of February. At the same time, we'll be fellowship around 11, and then we'll go into our class session at 12 noon. And you can call 919-972-8970 to get more information to join us. And we bid y'all a shalom.